Tchaikovsky, or Pyotr Illyich Tchaikovsky, to give him his full name, was a very famous Russian composer, born in 1840. So if he were alive today, he would be over 180. In his 53 years, he wrote some of the most heart-rending, romantic, exciting and wonderful music that we still know and love today. So let's hear about his life. Tchaikovsky was born the second of 6 children in a small town in Russia called Votkinsk. His father, Ilya, came from a military family and was an engineer. His mother was Alexandra, and both of his parents were musical. Tchaikovsky started piano at just 5 years old, and it was clear from the start that he had talent. He could soon sight read better than his teacher. Remember, no gaming or TV or internet back then. So it was music and singing that kept people entertained in the long cold evenings. But music was just for fun, because being a composer wasn't considered a career.
It's not a proper job.
So his dad decided that he would study law. Off he went at just 10 to boarding school, 800 miles from his family. Saying goodbye to his mother was utterly agonizing for little Pyotr, and his broken heart was smashed to bits after she died of cholera when he was just 14. Maybe some of this heartbreak and emotional trauma is what we can hear in his music. He had been prepared for a future as a lawyer, but his passion was music.
I love it.
But a lucky event allowed him to change direction. A music school opened in St. Petersburg. Immediately, Tchaikovsky enrolled as one of its first students. There, he learnt about harmony and studied composition and music theory, and at just 25, he was offered a job at the Moscow Conservatory of Music. Now he was in the right place. He had a steady income and the time to work on his music. His reputation started to grow.
Hey, have you heard about that guy Tchaikovsky? He's great.
Now he wrote one of the most famous piano concertos in the world, his Piano Concerto No. 1. Here's the opening. Listen out first for the 4 big horn notes. Second, the big piano chords. And third, the beautiful melody played by the string section. Soon he was making a name for himself as a distinguished composer. People knew his name. He had lived 37 years as a bachelor, but now he felt it was time to find a wife. The trouble was that he wasn't interested in women. But getting married was the respectable thing to do. So he proposed to a former music student, Antonina Mulikova. Disaster! Their marriage lasted only 3 months before Tchaikovsky left. Sad and confused and feeling a failure, Tchaikovsky left Russia and spent the next few years travelling alone. In this time, he wrote his best-known opera, Eugene Onegin, full of romantic yearning and tragedy. Around the time of his marriage, he'd had another big stroke of luck. He came across a fabulously rich patron, Nadezhda von Meck, the widow of a railway tycoon. She adored his music and over the next 14 years paid him 6,000 rubles a year so that he could devote himself to composing. Nice move! He now wrote another of his massive hits, the 1812 Overture, a tremendous and triumphant piece of music to mark the Russian victory over Napoleon after the French invasion of 1812. But the smash hits Tchaikovsky is most famous for are his 3 ballets: Swan Lake, The Nutcracker, and Sleeping Beauty. After a few years travelling through Europe, Tchaikovsky finally returned home to Russia and bought a house in the village of Klin, near Moscow, where he would read, enjoy his garden, entertain his few friends, and compose in peace. Here at Klin, he poured his heart and soul into his 6th Symphony, a composition he said was his own favourite. How could he have known it would be his final piece of work? Just 9 days after conducting the very first performance of Symphony No. 6 in Moscow, Tchaikovsky was dead. Can you believe it? What happened? Even today, experts aren't quite sure what caused his death, but the most likely reason was that he had drunk unboiled dirty water in a restaurant days before, and this brought on the deathly disease cholera. At just 53 years old, with so much more music to give, the light of Tchaikovsky's brilliant life was extinguished. But we must be grateful for the wealth of music he did leave behind. Whether you love the charm and joy of his ballets, the heartfelt lushness of his symphonies, the stirring 1812 Overture, or the majestic piano concertos, his work is loved and appreciated today around the world. He'll never be forgotten. So let's hear it for Pyotr Illyich Tchaikovsky.